Every day, 34 people in their 20s and 30s are diagnosed with cancer.
On the 7th of July 2015, I was one of the 34.
On the 28th of August 2008, I was one of the 34.
But what about when you're in your teens?
Because teenagers get diagnosed too.
These are the stories of what happens afterwards.
This is AfterThoughts.
The teenagers.
Hello, Alice May Purkiss.
Hello, Toby Eugene Peach.
Not my middle name, but thank you so much.
Yeah, but it's your Afterthoughts middle name, isn't it?
It's my Afterthoughts middle name. How are you doing?
Yeah, really well, thanks. How are you?
I'm feeling actually like really perked up, I think, by the coffee I've been drinking this morning, but also by our guest, by Tegan's energy and just like joy that she has brought to the storytelling today.
People use the term, that person had an infectious energy. I'm usually like, yeah, whatever. But no, Tegan really did have an infectious energy, and infectious in a good way, not in a bad way. I'm one of those people, I catch people's feelings a lot, but I usually catch people's negative feelings. And I really caught Tegan's infectious joy. And I feel really pumped up for the rest of my day.
But and I think there's something in that, because I think both, like before we recorded, you and I, like we came on and it's like Monday morning and it was like, oh, okay, can we get this? And you're right, infectious is the word, because I feel so like, can we have a dose of Tegan every morning?
Oh my God, let's just get her in for like 15 minutes every Monday. I feel like it's such a good way to start the week. And I hope I can just roll on through the rest of my week with this energy. And like, what a great bunch of stories that she brought to the table as well.
Yeah, I really hope that the listeners catch it as well. They catch that. And should we let them hear the stories? Should we give them the infection? Should we give them a Tegan?
I think it's really interesting that we're talking about giving people an infection when everybody's spent the last 18 months trying to avoid getting an infection. But this is the sort of infection that you want. So get it in your ears. Let's get a bit of Tegan for everybody. Hello and welcome back to another episode of Afterthoughts.
Yes, hello and welcome to Tegan, who is joining us today. Hi, Tegan.
Hi.
Tegan just did an amazing peace sign for everyone. Tegan, I am loving your wallpaper, by the way.
I absolutely adore pineapples. Like, there's so many. There's about like 5 dotted around my room.
Is there? I love that. Yeah, there's pineapple wallpaper behind Tegan, for those of you who can't see it, because we are on a podcast. And it's just majestic. I'm such a big fan.
Why pineapples, Tegan? What's your... Where did that start? Like, why do you love pineapples?
Honestly, I really don't know. My stepmom, she's got loads throughout the house, and I'm just like, they're kind of cute. They taste nice. Like, what to like?
So true. So you like the taste as well as the way they look?
Yeah, like they just look cool. Then in like olden English, they were like used for like royalty symbols, you know.
Oh, that's a fun fact.
I did not know that.
You see.
I just see because you said they're quite cute. I see them as quite spiky, aren't they? Like,
I don't know, but sorry guys for whoever, like there's no visual, but look at my hair. I have quite a big bun on my head. So it just resembles me. I can identify with a pineapple.
Sweet but spiky. Is that what you're saying?
But on the inside, lovely. On the outside, please don't play with me.
I love that. No messing on the outside. That's fab.
What came first, the pineapple or the haircut? Like what came, like your love for pineapples or the hairstyle? What came first?
The hairstyle definitely came first, but I feel like the love for pineapples runs deep. Like I didn't know it was there, and then I discovered it. Like that's a whole.
Do you need pineapple juice? Is that?
What a question!
I'm really disappointed in Tesco's at the moment because every time I go, they don't have any. Like, it's upsetting.
That is upsetting.
I might have to be a Karen and write to head office and complain.
Do it.
Might have to be a Karen. Fantastic. One of my favourite cakes to make is a pineapple upside down cake. Very retro, but very delicious.
I've never had one.
Oh, Tegan, you don't know what you're missing.
I know. I might have to whip out the recipe book later.
Oh, it's so easy as well. And like I say, very retro, very 70s, because you got some glacé cherries in there as well. Cracking.
Ooh. Okay.
But Tegan, thank you so much for coming on Afterthoughts. And we always start our episodes we do a quick fire round, quick fire questions. And that's to get to know, because we want to hear about the human before we dive into your stories about the cancer. So like we want to hear about you. And so we want to throw some quick fire questions at you, if that's okay.
Yeah, let's go.
So, Tegan, can you tell us what pronouns you use?
She, her.
Tegan, who do people say that you look like?
I don't know, I'm just cute. That is so... Sorry, guys. I think I am, though. I tell myself this to get through life. I don't think I particularly like anyone.
You're unique. Maybe that's it.
Yeah, something like that.
Love it. Would you rather live by the sea or by the mountains?
Fun fact, I used to live by the seaside.
Whereabouts?
Mablethorpe.
Oh,
So
amazing.
I feel like as much as I'd want to go mountains, and these are supposed to be quick fire, I've already done the seaside, but do I want to like ski? Because that's a bit dangerous. So seaside?
Oh, nice.
Would you rather time travel forwards or backwards?
Oh, backwards, Tudor England. I don't think I'd sue, and they definitely wouldn't like me, but I'd try and have a good time.
What's your favourite part of a roast dinner?
Oh no! I made a roast dinner yesterday and it was phenomenal. Homemade Yorkshire puddings, but if they're not homemade, then I don't want them.
Nice.
Lovely. Who is your celebrity fascination? Not crush, fascination. Like,
Who fascinates me? Oh, there's too many here. Maybe like Tyler, the Creator.
Oh, nice.
He's just like, there's just something about him. I'm like, that guy's cool.
And what superpower would you choose to have?
This is going to be so soppy, but like healing. And I'm not even a soppy person, but some people just need healing from things that they don't talk about, and I get it.
Tegan, that is a power. I've never heard that answer before. That is a power and a half.
Such a good answer, man. Such a good answer.
What's
Right.
your go-to karaoke song?
Loyal by Chris Brown and Tiger.
Would you rather be a hawk or a hedgehog?
Oh, I feel like this is like one of them personality ones now where you're going to tell me what personality I have at the end. Hedgehog because they're cute and they're spiky and I love pineapples.
I mean, it's not that far from pineapple to hedgehog, is it? So, yeah, makes sense.
And Tegan, could you give us a one-liner to tell us the age that you were diagnosed and what your diagnosis was, please?
So I was diagnosed, dramatic, but you've already gathered that I am, the day before my 19th birthday. So I was 18 and I had Non-Hodgkins Lymphoma.
As ever on Afterthoughts, we like to start with beyond a diagnosis, because for many of us who have been through cancer, our diagnosis story becomes so rehearsed, it's like a script. So in this section, we like to explore the stories that come after that diagnosis. So Tegan, I'm going to hand over to you to tell us a story of beyond your diagnosis.
Thanks. So when I first was ill, I was in London because I decided that's where I wanted to go for uni. And one of the girls that I was really good friends with from college was in uni at Coventry at the time. And because it's quite close to each other, we used to meet up quite a lot, which was really, really great. And she knew that I was ill, but she didn't know what was wrong with me. And we'd only been friends for like 2 years, but we'd like been really, really good friends. Like we used to go to each other's houses, cook for each other, like very chill, just great friend. And then I remember I used to go to her house all the time, and there was this one time that I was particularly ill, and she was just like, yeah, you need to get checked out. But it was just before our birthdays. So our birthdays are at the start of December. And it was great because it was like, we can do something close to celebrate. But she was going to New York at the time, and I was super excited. And she was going to New York with uni. And the time that it fell when I was in hospital, and I knew that she was away, and she was so excited about this trip. We'd been talking about it the whole time, and she was FaceTiming me like 50 times in like 3 days. And every single one I refused to answer because I was laid up in a hospital bed. In my mind, I was like, I don't want to ruin this trip for her. If she finds out that I'm in a hospital bed, there's going to be a load of questions. I don't even know the answer to most of the questions that she's going to be asking. And I know that she's going to be mad, but I feel like I can deal with her being angry at that more than I can feel like I can deal with ruining her trip. Like, it's a once in a lifetime opportunity. Like, she hasn't even been to America since. This was before we knew what COVID was. And then afterwards, when I knew she was back, I called her up and I was like, I'm really sorry from the bottom of my heart. Like, I couldn't answer because I've got cancer. And I always found it quite difficult telling people because you don't know how people are going to react. And this is one of the worst reactions I got. She was like, you're lying. This is some sort of sick joke. Why would you tell me that? She was like, I can't talk to you right now, and hung up the phone. And then 5 days later, she came back to me. She called me. She was like, I'm really, really sorry about the way I reacted. Like, are you okay? Like, please talk to me. Like, I need to come and see you. Because then at this point, I wasn't in London anymore. I was in Leeds. And she just came and sat in the hospital with me. She's quite a big personality. So it was like quite nice to have someone that's like, because I'd say I'm quite a big personality as well. It was nice to have someone that wouldn't mind like laughing really, really loud, or would say something a little bit stupid, but like it was like an inside joke between us. And like, that was my friend from outside the ward that I felt comfortable bringing to the ward. And I feel like not a lot of your friends, you feel you can do that. Like, but I feel like at that moment, it was a very humbling experience, I can say, looking back. But every person that I told after that, I chose to do it in a way where I didn't have to be like near them or with them, or I got other people to do it. So it was like they can deal and process with their reactions in a way where I can escape. Like, and I think that's something that's actually really difficult to like tell people. Like, I delayed telling my mum for like a good 3 days, and that's like your mum. And it was nothing to do with how she is or how like she was or anything like that. It's just how I perceived telling people to be.
On Afterthoughts, we're going to dive into the Those Around Us section, and this is an opportunity to hear a story about something or someone who might have gone through that experience with us. So, Tegan, over to you.
So, I don't know if I should call her a special person, but my stepmom, which is kind of strange because I feel like stepmoms are you got to tiptoe around the topic. But for my stepmom, I call her the wicked stepmom. Now I feel like everyone's wondering, good, bad, and it all started with a birthday card that I once got that said "wicked stepmom" on it. And sometimes if she's annoying me, I'm like, "You're such a wicked stepmom." And then when she's been all nice and we're getting along, it's also like, "You're a wicked stepmom." So yeah, she's just great. And then like, one of the things where she was wicked in a different sense from me to anyone else that was looking in is I used to have to get stabbed every night. So I used to have to take blood thinning medication. And I could never do it myself. Like, I'm not scared of needles. Well, I'm not scared of needles, but I'm very wary and could never do it myself. And I was like, you're going to have to be my nurse here. You're going to have to do it for me. And she was like, she'd get really excited about it. She'd be like, yeah, time to stab you. So we'd be eating dinner and it'd be like getting to the time where we do it because we do it in the evening. And she'd be like, right, get upstairs. I need to stab you now. Or we'd be out at dinner or we'd just be out at an event or something. And she'd be like, right, come on, we need to go home now. It's time to stab you. And if anyone looks in on that conversation, it is so crazy, but we just joke about it because it is funny. So we'd get upstairs, go to my room. I'd put the TV on, 8 out of 10 Cats Does Countdown, a classic. And I'd lay there and she'd be like, right, you ready? And I'd be like, yeah. And then she'd get so close and I'd be like, no, I'm not ready. And then I'd like faff around for another 5 minutes. And then we'd repeat this process a good 2 to 3 times. And it was just like every single time she'd be like, right, at this point, you're annoying me now. So I'm just going to grab bit your skin and stab you. And it's just like so aggressive and so unnecessary, but she's so gentle at the same time, like so sweet. And it like, she'd just come and sit on the end of my bed and be really, really patient with me when I'm being hella dramatic. And now we kind of have the relationship where I'll hear her going upstairs and I'll be like, Tess, come, I've got something to tell you. And she'll just come in and sit on the end of my bed and listen to my day and listen to me gossiping about my friends. Or I'll be walking upstairs and like her bedroom's next to mine. And I'll be like, Tess, I've got something to tell you. And I'll just go and sit and just perch on the end of her bed and we'll sit and gossip. It's great. We have such a good relationship and like, she's a wicked stepmom, but in the best way possible.
Oh, Tegan, that's such a great story. What a wicked stepmom.
I know. I'm like so wholesome.
Sometimes it is, it's a shame that we're on mute because I've just been laughing throughout that whole one of just the idea of your stepmom coming up to you and just saying that she wants to stab you.
Honestly, because can you imagine if you was walking past me in the street, she's like, come on, you need to go home, it's time to stab you. You'd be like, what is going in this household?
Yeah, like, and it would, as you're saying, because like sometimes the connotations of like the wicked stepmom and things, it would be like, and you'd be like, oh, don't worry, like she's my stepmom and stuff like that. It'd be like, oh no.
Yeah, even worse, like, why is your stepmom stabbing you?
Yeah.
Like, what have you done wrong in life? Like, all right, Cinderella.
Now on Afterthoughts, we want to dive into some of the invisible impacts of a cancer diagnosis. There's lots of visible impacts that we talk about a lot. And in this section, we want to uncover some of the things that are less obvious. So over to Tegan.
When I was diagnosed, so it was the day before my 18th birthday. And then obviously, like when you have cancer, you got to like sign a waiver, which I feel like everyone that's had cancer knows that you have to sign it. But signing it drugged up to me is very pointless because I don't have a clue what I'm signing. Like, yes to everything. Give me it all the drugs. So I remember signing it and it's like, oh, like if you can't have kids, then basically it's not our problem. And it's like, right, okay. My mum cried about it. And I was like, I'm 19 years old. Why are you crying? Like, get a grip. Like, it's not that deep. Then I went to FISOT. I think I went 2 years later and there was a talk, and in that talk there was a girl who had 2 children. She had one before she was diagnosed and then she was pregnant on the day that she was diagnosed with the second. Me and one of the nurses that I was with who like made me go to the talk because she was like, nah, like we'll go together. We were in there crying our eyes out, like hyperventilating, crying, like it was bad. And it was just like, that touched me differently. And like this, like the girl, like I could identify with her, like she looked very similar to me. And I was like, this is actually very deep. So then when I got back, I asked my consultant to refer me. And then 2 hours down the line, I was getting my eggs out. Like literally that far down the line. So yeah, that was a whole journey. And that's also going in the back of your head like the whole time. And in September, I was 2 years post-treatment, so therefore I don't have anything to do with the hospital. But yeah, I'm still going to the hospital 3 times a week. to get something different done that's still connected to it. And it's just a bit crazy how even in the cancer world, 2 years post-treatment, you're kind of done, but I really wasn't done. That's like, yeah. And then I had my eggs out and it was fine. They could have been doing anything. They knocked me out. Didn't feel a thing. Felt great after. Would recommend.
Would recommend.
I should have said like 10 out of 10.
I would recommend.
Because I thought the nurse was a bit rude.
You're not giving them like a review on like, yeah.
TripAdvisor, 10 out of 10 would recommend.
Do you know what it is, right? I went into the room. When I describe it to other people, I'm like, I went into this room, yeah, and it was like a clinical sex dungeon. In the nicest possible way. There's like a weird small bed on there, and then they've got like stirrups, but they're like black and like leather. Like they could have picked like pink and fluffy, like, do you know what I mean? Like to make it a bit more inviting. Or like even blue, like clinical blue, but it's just the black. It's a bit stark. Walked in, there were two men there that were looking like they should have been like henchmen, but they weren't. And it was just like a whole, like they serve your eggs through like, you know, one of them boxes, like when you had school dinners and you used to like retrieve, it's like that. And I was like, I literally said to them, this is crazy. Like, this is wild. I always try and spin stuff in a positive way, or like, I always try and like take the positives out of the experience. So I feel like with the egg retrieval, like, I was down bad at one point, like, best believe. I was questioning, like, I was like, is this even worth it? Like, I feel awful and hormonal and my face is all spotty and this isn't a good look and whatever. But actually, at the end of it, I was like, really? Was it that bad? No. So now, like, throughout the journey, even when I was down bad, I've still got to look at the positives within the experience. So, like, okay, some of the sisters I found were a bit rude and they don't understand me. And I feel like that's because I'm not their demographic. But there was like 3 nurses that were top tier. Like, they were just like, it's okay. Like, you can be emotional. And I was like, I'm sorry. It's just a lot's going on. And they're like, it's okay. And I'm like, you're so understanding. And it was just like, it was just great.
Time now for Teenage Kicks. This is an opportunity for us to hear a story about something that a young person who's had cancer will have experienced that a teenager who hasn't might not have done, and just to hear the differences. So over to you, Tegan, for Teenage Kicks.
I feel like I did have a midlife crisis at 19. And I think the way it differs from someone that hasn't had cancer is, like, cancer makes everything shrink to, like, everything that you value in life shrinks to nothing because the cancer takes over your life. And the only thing you think about when you have cancer is getting better. Or that's the only thing that I thought about. So, like, it started when I finished chemo and, like, I felt like I was ready to, like, finish, like, full stop. All my friends that were on the ward, they'd already been like, yeah, you know what, you've done chemo, you've smashed it, like, go live your best life. And then I sat in that meeting and she was like, no, you've not finished, you can't live your best life. And I was fuming. And then they was like, right, you're gonna have to have radiotherapy. But the way you're given radiotherapy after chemo is you've got to wait like 2 months to like find out that you even have to have it. So then I was like, right. I was like a wrecking ball at this point. I was like, nope, not happy. I'm gonna be angry at everyone. And then really and truly I was angry for about half an hour. And then I was like, do you know what? It's part of life. Like, people are in worse situations from me. I'll get over it. But like the angriness had like simmered down. So it was still there. So like I kind of went into everything with a, like, not a mood, but like an underlying mood. So like when I went into radiotherapy, like, to get my mask fit, I was like, what is this? Why am I getting a mask? Not necessary. But do you know what? Very good experience. 10 out of 10 would recommend getting a mask fitted. It's like spa day at the hospital. Treat. So that happened, was great. Then Lobka, shout out to Lobka, greatest, we love. She painted my mask, and guess what's on it? Pineapples. So yeah, and then I felt like a celeb, like, because you go into like a different room every time. And I was like, oh, so you're the girl with the pineapple mask? And I'm like, yes, I am. So yeah, and then it was like radiotherapy was like 5 minutes of peace every day. Like I would literally have to roll out of bed and roll down the stairs and roll to the hospital. But it was like I laid in the clipped to the board very hard. They could at least put a bit of cushioning in that. And you just lay down and it'd just be like a bit of like peace for like 5 minutes, nothing. Like I genuinely feel like I didn't feel anything when I was in that room for 5 minutes. So then like it got okay, like I got to be going through it. Then after you finish radiotherapy, you have to then wait like for 3 months to get your results. And that 3 months, most daunting time of your life. And I felt like for me, it was very much sink or swim. So I decided, you know what, if it's bad news, I'm at least going to have a good 3 months where I don't know what I'm going to do, but I'm going to do good things. So I went to Amsterdam for like 24 hours to a festival. I went to Greece for a week with my stepmom, where I literally just basked in the sun for a whole week, and it was great. And this is now out there in public, so I'm probably going to get shouted at by a nurse or something. I wore a t-shirt, I promise. And it was just like, I just like lived for every single day. But in the back of my mind, I was like, reality, like, so I had to leave uni early, but what do I actually want to do with the rest of my life? Like, I can live this 3 months not knowing what the result is going to be. But really and truly, if it's like, actually, you're okay, we don't need to see you anymore. Now I need to be a bit serious and like decide what I'm actually going to do with my life. So what I liked, what I wanted to do, how I perceived my future was very much non-existent for us. Like, it's a short space of time now I think about it, but in that time that you're in, it lasts as long as you allow it to last. So that could last for 2 years, or it could last for 2 weeks. And mine, I like to think that I'm a person that gets over things very quickly, like that I find upsetting, but this was something that just like simmered inside of me for a very long time. And I just wanted to like make people proud, but also myself proud. And I think that also consumed me quite a lot, because I was already doing something that was very much like not the average person does that. So then to like ponder on things that didn't matter as much in the moment, but actually mattered to me in the future, was very hard to like grasp at the same time as trying to get better. And like finding the balance is also very difficult, because you don't want to be too optimistic and look too far ahead. But at the same time, if you don't have that optimism and if you don't look ahead, then you actually do allow the cancer to fully consume you, as opposed to leaving like that little speckle of dust of yourself behind, kind of thing.
There's no doubt that we are talking a lot more about cancer than we used to, but there are still some things that we aren't talking about as much as we should. So in this section, we are aiming to shine a light on some of the lost conversations.
I feel like my lost conversation is to do with post-treatment care. Once you leave the hospital, once I left the hospital, it was very much, there was a comfort blanket, and now like the hospital doesn't need me anymore and I don't need to be there. So I felt like me being there was like a burden. So now I'm just at home, like sat in my room, don't really, like, I know people, but we're all at different stages in treatment and they've come off treatment. So they're actually getting on with their lives now, whereas I'm really not. And it was just like a safe, like, I just felt like I needed a safe space where I wasn't fully removed from the hospital, but I wasn't fully put back into like the real world. And I feel like what I wanted to do when I saw the gap was like make it a bit better for everyone. So I saw the youth advisory group, there was one, and then they last for 2 years. So they was recruiting for a new one. And I was like, I feel like I'm quite an outspoken person, do like to do a little bit of chit-chatting. So I was like, maybe I could get involved and like see what it's like and just like put in my experience. I also feel like not everybody's cancer experience is positive, but I feel like not everyone takes the positives out of their experience, whereas I try and take the most positive out of my experience. So I feel like if you're diagnosed with cancer, it can be very scary, and I wanted people to know that like it's not all bad and there's some good things along the way. And I feel like youth advisory group was initially a way of me doing that. So I applied, got through, and then in our first meeting, it was very much like they set the tone and was like, whatever you want to do in this group, we'll give you opportunities, but you can do that. And they invite us to different things to get involved in. And one of the main things as a collective from the youth advisory group is post-treatment care. Post-treatment care is very much something that you don't know you need until you don't have it. And it helps you get through a really uneasy stage of your life where you don't like, you've jumped off the cliff, but you don't know if you're going to like sink or swim at this point. Like you don't know if you're going to fall into water or if you're going to fall into hard ground. And you just need a little parachute to like catch you. And like they're currently patching the pieces of the parachute together, and it'll be really exciting when it comes out. And like life can be sunshine and roses. Like it can be okay after, and you can do whatever you want after. You've just got to believe in yourself. And I think with the tools that the Teenage Cancer Trust are creating to help young people do that, it'll push the people that have had cancer in the best possible direction, but the best possible direction for them as a person and as an individual. And I think that's very, very important. And meeting people on YAG, like not you all think the same, but like you think very similarly and you can have a conversation. And sometimes you can have a conversation that's very much not cancer led, but sometimes you can have a conversation that is cancer led, and like still being a part of like your friends don't fully understand what you're going through. Like they know, and you can tell them that you're tired and you don't want to do much, but someone that's actually had cancer does know. And it's that the contrast of, I don't feel like I can be at the hospital because I'm a burden, but I don't feel like I fit back into real life because no one understands what I'm going through. And it's just that little, there's like a thin line between it. And I feel like that's where we need a little bit of help.
Last up on Afterthoughts, we have the Don't Laugh section, which, although we have been having little moments of giggles all the way through today's episode, we do have a section which really focuses on the fact that sometimes there are funny stories that happen with a cancer diagnosis, and it's really important to highlight those as much as it is to highlight the heavier stories as well. So, Tegan, let's go over to you for a Don't Laugh story.
So, when I was in hospital, so my brothers are like a little bit older than me. So one's like 14 months older. And I say months because although he's a year and a little bit, like a month sounds like it's less. And then my other was like 5 years older. And my mum was there, and my mum is not my brother's mum. And this is like one of the very first times that they met. So I was a bit like, oh, this is a bit weird. And then they brought, like, we call them our cousins because they basically are our cousins. So there's my mum, there's me laying on the bed, and then there's my two brothers and then my two male cousins. And when you've got a bed that goes up and down and a wheelchair in the room and there's a lot of space to maneuver, I'm sure you can imagine what is going on. And it was just a disaster waiting to happen. Also, time context, this was happening at like maybe 11 p.m, 12 p.m. So when everyone should be sleeping, there's the nurse night team on. So there's only two of them in, bless them. And this must have been one of the first days that I came up to Leeds. So I hadn't started chemo or anything yet. So there's me. So my brother's come in and he brings pineapple. Oh, recurring theme. We love pineapples. And he gives me a bit of it. And I've not really been eating too much. So he's like, are you okay? And I'm like, yeah, can I just have some of that? So yeah, and it's stayed in the back of my throat, like it's clogged up my throat. And I know it's there. And I've gone to my mum, it's there. And she's like, right, okay. So she's got like the cardboard disposable bowls on tap, but it's just staying there. So my brother has got the bed and he's whizzing it all the way up and then all the way back down again to see how fast he can do it.
Oh, no.
And there's just a chunk of pineapple like in the back of my throat. And I'm thinking, this is all fun and games until something happens. And then there's my cousin who's on the wheelchair, who's doing wheelies and spinning it round. So I'm whizzing up and down as fast as I can in the bed. There's someone else on the other side of the room doing wheelies. My mum sat there like, what is this? Because this is the first time she's basically met anyone. And then there's the girls like knocked on the door to do my obs. And at this point, everyone freezes. We're all like, it's not us. And she just walks in and she's like really slim, petite girl, quite young. She comes in and it's just like, we've played musical statues. Everyone's frozen. No one's moving. And I'm just like, hi, we're not being too loud, are we? And she's like, I can hear you from outside the door. And she was like, but you're having fun, so I'm just going to like allow you to do it. Anyway, she's done my ob. She's gone back out. This pineapple is still stuck in my throat somewhere and she's left. So we've all burst out into giggles and my brother's gone back to like up and down, up and down, up and down. And then I've gone to my mum and I'm like, I need the bowl. And she's like, are you sure? And I'm like, yeah. So she passes me it and I'm sick. But it's not even I'm sick. I'm just, the chunk of pineapple comes back up. My brother just looks at me like, he knows that it's his fault. And he just looks at me and he's like, I'm so sorry. And I'm like, it's fine. And because my was like, what do I do now? Like, she's being sick. It's my fault. What happens here? There's still someone doing wheelies on a wheelchair, just whizzing round. And the actual nurse comes in and everyone's like, she's being sick. I'm like, I've just thrown up a chunk of pineapple. Like, guys, it's not that deep. Like, if you wanted to see sick, you should have been here 2 hours ago. She's like, so lovely. She's like, are you all right? And I'm like, I'm starving, hungry. And she's like, what do you want to eat? And I'm like, can I just have some toast, please? Anyway, she brings me 2 slices of toast. I don't think I've ever eaten anything as quick. So at this rate, I'm going to be sick again because I've just powered this down. She comes back in. She's like, are you all right? And I'm like, I'm still hungry. Can I have some more? Like I'm Oliver Twist or something. She's like, oh. Bearing in mind she's a nurse and her job is definitely not to be my personal chef. And I feel like personal chef is slightly taking it a bit far when we say making toast. But I do know that there's some people on this earth that can't make toast. So we're going to take personal chef. And she came back and I'm like, thanks. And my brothers are like, I think it's maybe time for us to leave now. And they're just like, it was great seeing you. We'll be back soon. And I'm probably sure as they left, the nurses were like, please don't come back anytime soon. First of all, you've made an absolute racket.
Oh my God. I can just imagine the chaos and I can just see I can just see the scene and I can see the wheelchair and the bed going up and down and the pineapple vomit. I can just see it all. I'm sat here with my eyes closed and I can picture it so vividly.
And my poor mum's just sat in the corner like, what is going on? Like, I'm here to look after my daughter. Like, hopefully.
I love that moment, and actually Alice and I kind of did it as well. Of when the small petite nurse walks in and everybody's like frozen still, and it was just like it was this moment where we were also kind of like, oh,
that's really funny.
Oh, Tegan, it's what a great story to end on, and like there have been so many fantastic stories. So. Like I know you mentioned this in Lost Conversations about wanting to like share your story and share parts of it to pass on in a way. So thank you for doing that.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining us. It's been such a great way to spend a couple of hours.
No, thank you for having me. And obviously, like your platform is a great way to like let people talk. And sometimes you got to be dig deep. Get all that stuff out, but sometimes you just got to be a bit positive and like let people know it's okay and everything. And you two doing a great job. So thanks for having me.
What did we say? What did we say about the infection that is the Tegan?
God, we can't talk about it like that. That sounds awful.
But in a real
joy.
We can absolute joy, and like I do feel like it was what we needed. I hope everybody else has felt that as well, because you're right. The stories were fantastic, and it was the energy that came with it as well. Yeah. Just like feeling.
And also, I don't think I have ever met anyone who got up at that got to bed at 6:30 in the morning and it was still that lively. Like, I mean, maybe it's because I'm 33, but if I'd gone to bed at 6:30 and got up at 11, I don't think I would have had that much energy.
No.
I think I'd have been like clawing my way through the morning.
That's right. That is, yeah. It's so What a time! What a time! Okay, so should we go into it straight away? Okay.
Yeah, if you want.
Well, I'd love to know what your afterthoughts have been on today's episode.
I mean, aside from the fact that Tegan was a delight,
yes.
And maybe it's because she was a northerner, eh? Maybe that's why she was a delight. I absolutely loved Tegan chatting to us about her stepmom. And I think she's right, stepmoms get a really bad rap. They have such a bad reputation, but actually step-parents can be brilliant. And I vividly remember having to have my injections. So I had to do egg retrieval as well and fertility stuff, but I had to have GCSF injections, which were to increase my white blood cells. So I had to have them, I think, for 10 days after chemo. And doing it was bloody miserable. I hated doing it, and I just really loved hearing Tegan talk about the little kind of routine that she built up with her stepmom, and the kind of it was just really the stabbing routine, and just it kind of was really nice to hear that they had created this thing together and added a bit of humor to it and just made the whole thing a little bit less miserable, because it was miserable stabbing myself with GCSF injections every night for a week or 10 days or whatever it was miserable, and it isn't a nice thing to have to do, and they just made it so much less shit basically by doing it together. And like Tegan said, if she'd had to do it herself, it probably wouldn't have got done. And I think that it's really nice to hear that they've got that unique relationship. I just loved what she was saying about the wicked stepmom. She can be wicked it's a double entendre, and I love a double entendre. So yeah, absolute shout out to Tegan's stepmom. Absolute shout out to Tegan's stepmom for being a legend and stabbing her stepdaughter every night during her treatment. Toby, what about you? What are your afterthoughts on today's episode?
I want to look a little bit at Teenage Kick section that got for me. And I mean, there was the shout out for Lobka, and we talked about that so Lobka is an incredible maker of masks and designs them, and it's just this beautiful thing. And if our listeners don't follow Lobka on Twitter, I definitely do that and see the marvelous work, what that means to young people. But with it in Teenage Kicks, it was about the midlife crisis. Crises. And for me,
crises.
Isn't that is something I've thought about before. As it prompts those thoughts quite early on in your life, because of the time in your life that you experience and you learn about your mortality. And I think there was something in there that Tegan was talking about timelines, and about that you're having to relearn, to be positive about the future and things, because you kind of try to not think about the future because you're worried about the future and about cancer, treatment not going well or it coming back, and so you focus on this short timeline. And I just thought there was something really powerful in there about learning long timelines, and how can you do that after treatment. And it falls in as well to Tegan's talk about lost conversations. I mean, it all comes together of like the gaps of learning. Like, is that part of the patchwork that we got to come up with about being able to fly the parachute after treatment? Because I really believe that learning about timelines, I still really struggle to plan the future.
Same.
And I think that's definitely down to the cancer experience. And
100%. I had a conversation with my dad about pensions at the weekend, and I said to him, I was like, well, Dad, I've only just come around to the fact that I might live beyond the age of 40.
Yeah.
And he was like, oh, you're all right, you just dropped your cancer card there. And I was like, well, like, you have to, it is an adjustment. And I don't have a pension because for a long time I wasn't sure. I got diagnosed with cancer at 26, and you got diagnosed with cancer at 18 and 21. It takes an adjustment, and planning for the future is a big deal when you've been through that. And I think people don't necessarily understand that unless you've been in the trenches.
But can I offer just to pull another bit of Tegan's energy to it as well, is that maybe we should also offer that really positive thing of going that
Sunshine and flowers.
Well, I was going to, like, we've got those, but also the fact that Alice, do you now have a pension?
I'm working on it. It's a work in progress. Are you going to get one?
Alice,
have you got one?
Last month, I think, was the first time I paid into a pension.
Toby!
And I looked into it. I was like, oh, I'll get this when I'm 65. I was like, oh, 65. I was like, that's not something I've thought about. Ooh.
I'm really proud of you.
Thank you so much. And I think that Tegan energy that's a really nice way to go. Any of our listeners who don't have pensions,
it's important to add.
And that's fine. That's all good. But also, if you want to think about it at some point, you can open up the 65-year-old thoughts.
But it's important to add that we're both freelancers as well, and pensions are hard. But yeah, I do think, taking a step to thinking about the future is a brave thing to do when you've had cancer. And if you want to take some Tegan energy, if you want to take some Toby and Alice future-looking energy from today's episode, then maybe you can. If you're not ready for it yet, don't worry about it. You might be ready soon.
Shall we end with the audio description of the Tegan pose?
Yeah. 2 peace signs, head slightly to the side.
Head to the side. If today's episode of Afterthoughts has brought up any thoughts or feelings that you'd like to speak to someone about, we really recommend grabbing a cuppa with a friend or dropping them a message. There are tons of charities out there who can help you if you've been through cancer and need a bit of extra psychological support.
Thanks so much to Teenage Cancer Trust for supporting Afterthoughts, the teenage years, and supporting teens and young adults diagnosed with cancer in the UK. The work they do is incredible. Find out more at teenagecancertrust.org.
Afterthoughts is produced by Alice May Purkiss and Toby Peach from Beyond Arts, with sound design from Dinah Mullen and Kieran Lucas.